So, how big is your big? We made it. We've made it to the end of the month. We had a whole month on expanding our horizons. First week we went far and wide, and then we rose higher with Reverend Angela in the second week. Last week we took a look at the long view, right? We're just expanding all over the place. And so today we're talking about how big is your big. And from a personal standpoint, we have to look at our own life, right? How big is our big? How big is my life? How big is your circle? How big is your circle? How big is your sphere, right? Are you a citizen of the world? Are you a citizen of the world? Are you a citizen of this country? Are you a citizen of your state? Are you a citizen of your city? How about a citizen of your block? Are you a citizen of your block? How about the king of the house? Are you the king of the house or queen? Right? How big is your big? How big is your big? Because we're here to connect. It's just what we do. As humans, we're pack animals. We connect. We form tribes and packs, and we interact with each other. We are in relation to all the time, in relationship to. That's what we do. That's what our soul calls us to do, to connect. And relationships are our greatest source of growth, is it not? Reverend Kathy Hearn used to say that's the ow in growth, growth. That's the ow in growth, is in our relationship, because that's our greatest source for growth and for evolution of our souls, right? When we're born, we're these little kind of newborns, and we're just brought into the world, and there's nothing but us. As a newborn, but we eat, we sleep, we poop. That's it, and there's nothing else but that, but our own immediate need. There's no consideration for anything else but that. We have no concept of the other. Even mom, she's simply a food delivery service. She's not the other at that point. It still is like a connection. It's still part of the one. And then we grow a little bit. We grow a little bit. We start looking around. We start crawling around. We start looking and seeing that there's other people around. There might be another parental unit in the house. It could be, You might have siblings. The world gets a little bigger at that point. The world starts getting a little bigger. And then we start going places, right? Mom straps us into the car seat, and off we go to grandma's. So we have a grandma or an aunt or an uncle or a bunch of cousins or whatever. The world gets a little bigger. Our circle is starting to expand. And then we go to school. Holy moly. We go to school and we see people that are not in our tribe, right? We're tribal up till that point. And then we see the people down the block or the people around the corner. We start going to school with people that may not look like us, may not sound like us, may not have the same beliefs as our family. Our world is getting really big at that point, right? Our circle keeps expanding. And as we move from one stage to the next, we move in our awareness from one stage to the next, we develop things like empathy. We develop things like sympathy, concern for larger issues. We start getting the idea of things for the greater good. It's more than just me. But we don't lose those former stages. You see, that's the thing. We don't lose that ego stage or that ethnic stage or that tribal stage. We just incorporate it into what we know as we grow and expand. It's like the reptilian brain, right? The reptilian brain is still there. It's still with us at the top of our spinal cord. But we have a higher order thinking process now. We have a cerebral cortex that does most of our thinking. But we've incorporated that reptilian brain. We didn't get rid of it. It's still there. So we transcend the previous stages, but the previous stages are always included, and that's how we grow. So how big can we get our world? How big can we get it as we're growing? How big is my big? Am I open to people who challenge my belief system? Right? Am I open and available to people who challenge my belief system? If I can only associate with people who agree with me on conditions, this is the thing, they're just conditions. They're just effects. But if I can only surround myself with people who agree with my opinion of the conditions, whether it's politics or trees or whales or my shoes, Whatever it is, if I can only surround myself with people who agree with me, I have a very, very small big. My big is very small. My sphere of availability, if I can only be with people who agree with me, my sphere of availability is going to be it's going to shrink so small, it's going to be population me. That's it. It'll only be me in my circle. So we have to go beyond that. The cure for that is interacting with the world, interacting with people who may not agree with us, interacting with the world at large. What keeps us stuck in our little sphere is fear. Say that 3 times. What keeps us stuck in our sphere is fear. We tend to go all the way to the edge, don't we, of our little bubble? We tend to go all the way to the edge of our sphere of availability, and then we stop there because that's the edge of our comfort zone. We stop there. And it's not until we push through the fear that's keeping us in there do we go beyond. And all of those qualities that we desire, and all of those passions, and all of those things that we really want to experience in our life, and we're not experiencing them now, we're not embracing them, we're not embodying them, we're not demonstrating them, it's because of a fear in one form or another. It's just a fear that's keeping us from breaking through that cutting edge, our comfort zone. You want that better job, right? You want that better job, but you don't apply for any jobs? Fear, right? Fear. You want to find that significant other in your life, but you don't date? Fear. You want that raise, but you don't ask for it? Fear. It's just fear. Fear keeps us. No fear there. Fear keeps us stuck in that. Fear keeps us in our sphere. Okay? So the one thing that we need to know is that it's truth that is pushing us to go beyond the sphere. It is truth that pushes us to go beyond our self-imposed limitations. It's conditions that tell us to stay put. There's a big difference. It's just the conditions that tell us to stay put, right? Oh, this isn't the right time. Oh, it's not good for me right now to do that. Oh, conditions tell us to stay put where we are, to stay in our little small sphere. It's the truth that keeps pushing us to a greater idea of who we are. And you know what we know about conditions? They change all the time. Conditions are not the truth of us. Conditions are just conditions, just the effects, and they change all the time. So those things that are keeping our big so small are not even truth. It's not even truth. It's an effect. And what we know about effects is that they change, And Ernest Holmes said that they're real. Yes, they're real. Conditions are real. Ernest Holmes said they're as real as they need to be. They're as real as they need to be. I love that. But they change all the time. Truth is eternal. Conditions come and go. Effects come and go. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, we may meet difficulties, uncertainties, and doubts, barriers walling our passage, but we must not be discouraged when so confronted. We must climb over the rocks of unbelief, pass around the barriers of doubt, and plunge into the stream of faith. The stream will ever widen. The barriers will eventually disappear. Though we walk through the plains and valleys of indecision and doubt, the stream will carry us back to the ocean of our being. Isn't that lovely? We must not lose sight of that. When we push through the fear and the doubt, we are rewarded with that greater life. That greater expression. We are instructed by this teaching to grow. I'm not telling you to grow. This teaching is. It is this teaching that commands us to do that. It is about reaching, it's about expressing a greater degree of livingness in our individual lives. It's about living the glory of God that you are. There is nothing else true about us but that we are expressions of spirit. And we are here to live that greater life. So we must continue to grow. We must continue to expand. We must continue to expand our horizons in order to do that. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, nature will not let us stay in one place too long. She will let us stay long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfoldment and the advancement of our soul. And this is a wise provision. For should we stay here too long, we become set. We become rigid. We become inflexible. Anybody you know like that? Okay. He goes on to say, nature demands change in order that we advance. When the change comes, we should welcome it with a smile on our lips and a song in our heart. Song in our heart. You know, when most change comes with fingernails and claw marks, doesn't it? We should welcome change with a song on our lips. Sure, we can stay safe inside of our little bubble. You know, we can stay safe and small inside of our sphere. But it starts getting uncomfortable in there. You know, it starts getting really tight. Chickens don't stay inside their eggs. Babies don't stay inside the womb. It's time to break out and move on and get bigger. And we are called to grow. We are called to grow. This teaching tells us to grow. Spirit tells us to grow. Our soul is calling for us to grow. And every experience that we have is an opportunity to grow. Every experience we have is an opportunity to grow. You know, like when your button gets pushed? You know, like when your button gets pushed? An opportunity to grow. When you have expectations and they get dashed? An opportunity to grow. You get fired, you get dumped, you get into a car wreck, you get fat? An opportunity to grow. Not like that, but you know what I mean. Opportunities to grow. There's something in here for me. There's something in here for me. How do you know where you are in consciousness, what energy you are resonating in, if you don't get challenged by anything? You don't even know where you stand on anything. You don't even know what your belief system is if you don't get challenged on something. You have to get your button pushed to know you have a button there. Right? Sometimes people push your button, you light up and you go, I didn't even know that was in there. I didn't even have a clue that was there, but I'm really, really annoyed. So what do? We have to go inside and we have to talk about it and we have to figure it out. But we get our buttons pushed all the time, don't we? By others, you know? And here's the deal. That's the opportunity to grow. That's the gift. Your tormentor is your savior. Oh, don't you hate that? Okay, your button pusher is your teacher. It's what's going on. Be thankful. They're pointing you to your healing. They are pointing you to where you have to heal. And here, right there is our choice point. Right there, we're at choice. We can be offended. I'm never going to talk to that person again. God, they're so rude. I can't believe she said that to me. Or we go within. We go within and go, I didn't even know I had that button. What the hell? Where'd that come from? What does that mean? Where did it come from? How long have I had it? Who gave it to me? Did I install it myself? You know, you go within and you figure out where it came from and you go about in the process of discovery, self-discovery. You go within and you heal that thing. Wow, I've been carrying around that since I was 6 in kindergarten and the teacher yelled at me and oh my God, and I became totally fearful of authority figures. Whatever it is. You've been carrying it around for you forever. The person in front of you, they didn't install that button. It has been there for years. All they did was light it up for you so you could see where the healing needed to be. And that's what our teaching is about, isn't it? That's what our teaching is about. It's about clearing away the stuff that's not us. We are divine beings. We are the outpicturing of spirit itself. We are spirit's love for itself in form. There's nothing else true about us but that. And yet we've covered it over with all these things because we have free will. We can do whatever we want here. We are left on our own to discover our own divinity. And so all the while we keep collecting things and adding stuff and covering over our brilliance and covering over our divinity with all sorts of false beliefs and small ideas. And so we have an opportunity in this teaching to start uncovering all that stuff, throwing it away, looking at it, finding those buttons, dewiring them, dismantle the buttons, get rid of them. That's our teaching. That's what it's about. And our ego says, there's no value in trying to do that. There's no value in trying to figure that stuff out. Just be offended. Right? How many times have you seen that? Boy, I'll tell you. Anybody on Facebook? People are offended by everything. Okay, there's no value in trying to figure that out, right? Just be offended at the slight, because ego wants to keep us safe. But what wants to keep us safe wants to keep us small. We don't have time. I got no time for that. We don't. We don't want to stay small. Our soul doesn't want us to stay small. Spirit doesn't want us to stay small and safe inside of our little sphere. That quote this morning that Cindy May said, it was so beautiful that Spirit wants to give us 1,000 times more than we're willing to accept. That's our inheritance. Spirit wants so much greater for us than we're willing to accept with our little small selves. This could be a teaching of settling. I could be standing up here saying, please, just be happy where you are. This is not a teaching of settling. We could teach from our wounds. There's plenty of faith traditions out there that do that. We can teach rats to be comfortable in their maze. But I want to teach, and I am teaching, and we are knowing in this philosophy, there is no maze. There is no maze. We are free. So when that button is pushed, or the situation is challenging, or the people disagree with us, we're at choice. We're at choice all the time. Stay small or go for the self-discovery. Go for the self-discovery and go for the healing. Our small self speaks to us of staying small, playing it safe. It's not worth it to understand the self. It's not worth it to understand the other, for that matter. Stay in the comfort zone. Why do you think they call it that? The comfort zone. It's because it's comfortable in there. And everybody knows you. It's nice and small and safe. But ultimately, our soul won't stand for that. Even if you think you want to stay in there, your soul wants greater for you. That sense of connection, that sense of expanded awareness, that sense of growth. Our teaching won't stand for that. It won't stand for you staying small. Our faith philosophy demands we grow. We experience more of the self-givingness of Spirit to its creations, and we are that. Life demands that we experience and express a greater degree of livingness, because that's what we're here to do. So how big is your big? How big is your big? That question itself demands introspection, not denial. We must question our cosmology. We must question the universe and our place in it. What am I here to do? Who am I here to be? What's the deal? Why am I so short? Whatever. Questions. We are here to express the glory of God, to express the glory of God in whatever shape and form we showed up in. We are here to express the glory of God, and we cannot do that from inside of our little spheres. We must expand beyond our limitations. And we do that here, don't we? We do that here. We come together here to center around universal principles which are eternal and everlasting. We're not here to talk about conditions. We talk about them only as a jumping off point to a universal principle, but we are here to talk about universal principles. We don't center around conditions and effects that change with the wind. We center around truth here and the guiding principle that brings us together. And you know what? We don't all agree on conditions. I don't think any two of us agree on conditions, all the same things. We agree on some things. We all agree on universal principles. We all agree on truth. We center around it all the time. But conditions, effects, no. Some of us may agree on certain things. Some of us don't. We disagree with each other on all sorts of things. We disagree with each other on all sorts of things. Shh. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Nobody knows. I'm a liberal. I keep it so low key, nobody really knows. But I am, okay? Yet, vision is filled with people who believe differently. We have all kinds of, we run the spectrum, don't we? We have all kinds of different beliefs about conditions, right? We run the gamut, conservative and fiscally liberal and fiscal conservatives and social liberals and social conservatives and, all kinds, we run the gamut on all kinds of opinions about politics, all kinds of opinions about clothes. Look at us, we wear different clothes. Well, you guys are all really nicely coordinated today. But we wear all different kinds of clothes, don't we? We resonate to different colors. We resonate to different styles. Right? You like some, you don't like others. Oh, love those shoes. Oh, those, not so much. We have different likes and different dislikes. All sorts of things in the world of form we don't agree with each other about. But that's not why we come together. We're not here for the conditions. We're here for the truth. We circle around truth. We transcend all of the effects, all the conditions, all the things we think should be or shouldn't be or, have to be or don't have to be. We transcend all of that to come together in truth. We go from the effect to cause. And cause is the truth. The one truth, God is all there is, we are that. And that is that common universal spiritual principles that bring us together. The pursuit of the greater and greater demonstration of the truth as us in form. It's not me. It's not the minister that brings us here every week. It's not the carpet, certainly. It's not the location. It's the truth. It's the principles that bring us together week after week for that greater expression of the truth as us. I'm not telling you to question your interior life, to go within. This teaching that we all agree on is calling for that greater livingness through you. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, the road to self-discovery often calls for a clearing away of the underbrush of ignorance, fear, superstition, and that sense of isolation which has made us feel we are unworthy, unheld, and unloved. In the divine providence of good, salvation is unnecessary, but self-discovery is essential. We do not save that which is lost. We merely discover that which needs to be found. We are already whole. We are already divine. We are already filled with the qualities of God. How big is your big? How big is your big? How big is your choice. Big as you are willing to question, as big as you are willing to go within, as big as you are willing to heal and to grow. How big is your big?